Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. A seed planted today takes root and grows into a tree that bears fruit in the future. Over 110 years ago, a seed was planted. Today, that seed, the idea of excellence, has grown into the University of Pretoria, South Africa's largest contact research-intensive university. 9 faculties and a business school are spread across 7 beautiful campuses, which are home to over 50,000 students, ready to make an impact in the world beyond university and join our global network of nearly 300,000 alumni. Future-focused, sustainably developed facilities and cutting-edge multi- and transdisciplinary research are underpinned by a desire to transform lives and have a positive impact on communities and the world. Excellence in teaching, learning, research innovation, arts and culture, and sports puts us firmly amongst the world's ball, bears fruit and branches out. UP plants that seed, that tiny bit of curiosity, creativity, critical thinking, hope, the desire to care, respect, help, and innovate against all odds. To grow, to leave your mark, to excel, to challenge the norm, to think, to rethink, to discover, to inquire, to lead, to have courage, to make a difference, and to persevere. This is the University of Pretoria. We make today and every day matter.
Professor Wiseman Kuhlu, Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, guest speaker Professor Kurasha Abdul Karim, co-founder and associate scientific director of CAPRISA, Professor Fulufelo Nelowando, CEO of the National Research Foundation, award recipients and their families, UP executive management, deans and deputy deans, directors and heads of departments of recipients, family and friends, UP staff. Ladies and gentlemen and honored guests, I'm delighted to be celebrating the University of Pretoria's academic achievers for the 21st year this evening. This event is one of celebration as we honor academics who have made their mark in society through their work and high-quality contribution to the body of knowledge. This is the second consecutive year that this award ceremony is taking place in virtual mode, as COVID-19 is still a feature of our lives. While there is a campaign to get our population vaccinated, UP has risen to the challenge again in the face of this global health crisis by being one of the first in the higher education sector to open a vaccination site at the Faculty of Health Sciences Prinshof campus. The site serves students and staff, and the bookings are easy to make. This year, the Faculty of Health Sciences went further by enlisting the help of Stevie, a mobile robot that is helping to improve the treatment of patients during the COVID-19 pandemic. Named after Steve Biko, the robot works in the Steve Biko Academic Hospital's intensive care unit and is helping medical teams in South Africa to communicate with ICU teams in Germany. The university is again embracing rapidly advancing digital technology, with Stevie in his second robotic employee after employing Libby, the robotic library assistant. Next week, we will launch another robotic assistant at the Engineering 4.0 complex, so watch this space. The Faculty of Health Sciences is also using creative ways to communicate to various target audiences about the urgent need to get vaccinated through the production of a science rap music video and a recording of a choir performance. Our message is vaccinate, don't hesitate, and do it like yesterday. Despite the pandemic, UP made history with an unprecedented pass rate in the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, otherwise known as SAICA, Initial Test of Competence, ITC. UP obtained a 100% pass rate in the April 2021 ITCs exam for the first-time writers and an overall pass rate of 99.4% for all candidates. These historically exceptional results ensure that UP retains its first position in South Africa. Our students and academics showed resilience despite the challenges of the pandemic. Furthermore, our law program has been ranked the best in Africa and, of course, South Africa, according to the recent Times Higher Education's World University Rankings by Subject 2022. The ranking tallied more than 1,600 universities across 99 countries and territories, making it the largest and most diverse university ranking to date. We were ranked 60th in the world, while our veterinary science program also ranked first in South Africa, well, we are the only one in South Africa, and on the continent, with this being the 5th consecutive year that this program held this position. On the teaching and learning front, we're embarking on a strategic planning process to develop a teaching and learning framework more suited to the needs of our times, as well as the future of higher education. Delivering a creative, innovative hybrid mix enriches students' learning experiences and affords them levels of flexibility, which will become increasingly important and valued as we move into the future. There are many other successes to celebrate this year, including the eminent launch of the Research Matters website, which carries curated research stories which are written in easy-to-understand and accessible language and style. The second is one of my passion projects, the launch of a digital research e-magazine, Research, which captures research stories in a succinct approach with appealing design, layout, and easy language. Both initiatives showcase the research projects the university is involved in and indicates how our academics are trying to provide a world of answers to issues in society. This is our attempt to boost the public understanding of science and to make research accessible to everyone, as the University of Pretoria is not an ivory tower, but seeks to achieve transformative impact as a driver and agent of social change. UP is well on its way to becoming the hub of research communications, and this is important for the public and the media. The academics we're honoring here tonight contribute to UP's vision of being a leading African global university that is future-focused and is acclaimed for its quality and relevance. UP has 590 NRF-rated academics, the most in South Africa. As one of the largest producers of research in the country, we co-create knowledge that helps to find solutions to local, continental, and global challenges. I salute tonight's academic achievers for their hard work and dedication to their students. What makes a university a leader in its top-notch academics, who with inquiring minds have a passion for knowledge creation and solving society's problems, as well as a sound commitment to training their students to be the next generation of researchers. Thank you for all that you do for the university and for producing research that matters. Excellence is a continuum at UP, and the achievers we are celebrating tonight are an inspiration to others. We strive to be a future-focused university, not to push our international ranking, but to help transform our country, our continent, and the world of which we are a part, with high-impact research and innovations. And we can achieve this through all your research and commitment. Congratulations and job well done to you all. This evening, I'm delighted that our MC, Nozipo Chabalala, is one of our own alumni.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 2021 Virtual Academic Achievers Awards. A special welcome to all our esteemed academics and experts who are receiving awards this evening. Prof. Cooper, thank you so much for that really kind introduction. Now, the Academic Achievers Awards give us an opportunity to reflect on the milestones achieved by our colleagues. The academics honored tonight help UP to maintain its position as one of the top research institutes globally. We produce the largest number of research outputs among South African universities. And of course, UP is home to the largest number of staff with PhDs, a research degree which enables higher levels of research achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, your passion and commitment to research and education truly impacts and transforms lives in our country, our continent, and indeed in the world. We would love to hear how you're celebrating. So please do share your celebratory pictures with us on social media using the hashtag UP Celebrating Excellence and hashtag UP Academic Achievers. And now, allow me to welcome back Prof. Cooper to do the honors of introducing our guest speaker.
I'm honored to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Professor Kurasha Abdul Karim, PhD, DSc, HC, UJ, GSHC, SU, is a South African epidemiologist and NRF A-rated scientist who has made pioneering contributions over the past 32 years to preventing HIV in adolescent girls and young women, including the landmark CAPRISA 004 trial that demonstrated for the first time that antiretrovirals can prevent HIV infection. Through the Columbia University Southern African Fogarty AIDS International Training and Research Program, she played a central role in training over 600 scientists, enabling a strong science base to be established to enhance responses to HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis through discovery and implementation science research. She's a strong advocate for the rights of people living with and affected by HIV, and for women to pursue careers in science and technology. She's a co-founder and associate scientific director for CAPRISA, professor in clinical epidemiology, Columbia University, Pro-Vice Chancellor for African Health, University of KwaZulu-Natal, co-chair of the UN SDG 10 member technical facilitation mechanism member, and UNAIDS Special Ambassador for Adolescents and HIV. She's a fellow of the African Academy of Science, the World Academy of Science, Royal Society of South Africa, Academy of Science of South Africa, and a member of the National Academy of Medicine in the United States of America.
The Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria, Professor Tawana Kupe, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, colleagues, fellow students, and their families, greetings. I would like to start by thanking the organizers for the opportunity and honor and privilege to address you at this preeminent event at the University of Pretoria to honor scientists who've made and accomplished huge gains in this past day through this Research Awards Day. I'd like to congratulate those who are being recognized today through different awards. And I'd also, as I move forward, like to reflect on the past 18 months. None of us have been left untouched by the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic, regardless of where we are in the world. This pandemic has reminded us that we are united and interconnected and share vulnerabilities, and that it is this reminder of our common humanity that has helped us to stay together in our responses. And whether it is at a global level, national level, or local level, we have learned that when we work together, we can achieve great heights as humanity. But the SARS-CoV-2 has been more than a virus, more than an infectious disease. It has, as devastating as the morbidity and mortality rates have been across the globes, has also reminded us about a world that has large inequities and inequalities. It has impacted our lives socially and economically. But what we've seen is the increase in job losses, the increase in food insecurity, the increase between those who have and those who have not have been exacerbated in the context of the SARS-CoV-2, rendering some of us more vulnerable than others. It has reminded us of underlying inequalities of race, of gender, of socioeconomic status, that despite our shared vulnerability, some of us have had to bear a greater burden than others. But it's also a reminder that while we have had of great concern an increased number of children orphaned through the premature loss of the parents' lives, while we've seen some of us able to be resilient to this new threat and challenge and able to pivot rapidly and work remotely, those who have not been able to do that have been those at the front line. Some of those frontline workers have been healthcare workers, others in retail and manufacturing who did not have the luxury to work remotely and be safe in their homes. But we've also seen other challenges coming in that reminds us that this virus is spreading in our communities and particularly impacting those that are already disadvantaged, whether it's by race or gender or socioeconomic status, differently from those who don't have those, who can go to school or not, who can learn or not, have highlighted and unmasked huge digital divides that we have that need to be closed and filled rapidly. But we've also seen the importance of science in society. The scientific knowledge that has been generated in an unprecedented timeline has set a new bar in terms of knowledge generation. We have come up in less than a year with new diagnostics, with new treatment modalities, and 6 new vaccines. That is amazing. It has highlighted not only the importance of science in society, but also has increased public engagement in science, public appreciation of science, and what it is that's possible. But I think even as we celebrate these scientific accomplishments, we have been reminded yet again of how our inequalities between our countries, between those and within our countries, that access to these advances are not equal. And we've seen why science is important, why investments in science and technology and innovation is important. And I think that my focus in the next few minutes on vaccines and vaccine access perhaps will highlight best some of the challenges that are facing us. So what we've seen is that those countries that developed the vaccines were able to do so because of decades of substantial investments in science and technology. And those countries that had capacity to do bulk manufacturing and distribution were also able to have an advantage. In short, those countries that were able to develop vaccines were able to secure very quickly vaccines for their citizens. Those who had not invested in vaccine development had sufficient money to purchase these vaccines through advance purchasing agreements. In fact, in some instances, purchased so many doses of the vaccines that they have more than 10 doses for each of their citizens. So market forces played a big role in influencing who has access to vaccines and who doesn't. And if you were not in the business of developing vaccines, or a country that developed vaccines or had the money to do advanced purchases, political, what is now also referred to as diplomacy, the bilateral arrangements, quid pro quo arrangements, enabled other countries to access vaccines. For the majority of countries in the world, and notably low middle income countries, vaccine access became a dream. And we continue to see huge disparities between low middle income country access, and even though the WHO and Gavi and other institutions came together to create COVAX for enabling access to vaccine doses for everyone, they had to join the end of the line. South Africa and many countries in Africa participated in these vaccine trials, but that was not sufficient to secure vaccine doses. Today in South Africa, we are in a very fortunate situation where the government has secured sufficient doses of vaccines for everybody over the age of 12 to receive at least one dose of vaccine, and for everyone over 18 to receive, whether it's the single J&J dose or the 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. When we vaccinate ourselves, we do so to protect ourselves as individuals, but we also do so to protect others who are near and dear and close to us, our family members, our friends, our work colleagues, and the communities we interact with. So vaccines and vaccinations, vaccines are an important first step. Vaccination is really important. And if we are to rebuild stronger and with greater resilience, an important first step is ensuring that we have high vaccination coverage rates. Having vaccines has enabled us to realize that goal, but it is up to each of us to help and support those around us who have not been vaccinated to be vaccinated, because therein lies our hope as South Africans, as Africans, and globally, to restore some form of normality and go back to our plans to build back stronger. Without that, we will continue to remain behind the virus, and the virus will be stronger. While we thought that the vaccines were the end game, we've learned that as long as poor and low vaccination coverage rates continue, we are all vulnerable. Even countries that have had high vaccination coverage rates have seen, when we do not deal with this in complete solidarity and unity as a globe, it does not protect you. No one is safe until we are all safe. And in ensuring high vaccination coverage rates, what we are doing is trying to get ahead of the virus. When we are not ahead of the virus continues to mutate, and we see the emergence of variants of concern. The most recent variant of concern, the Delta virus, we've seen, it spread very, very rapidly. We have seen how these variants of concern come in, and they higher and higher transmissibility. In Africa, what we saw from the ancestral strain surge was a fairly modest wave. With the emergence of the Beta variant, we saw a worse wave and surge of infection, and with the Delta, an even worse one. So with each of these waves and surges, due to these emerging variants of concern, we have seen a worsening. So the lesson that we've learned is that as a global community, if we want to use the analogy of a fire, that if we protect ourselves with nationalistic and parochial and inward-looking approaches, this fire cannot be put out. Because when you have a fire that's raging in entire communities across the globe, putting out half the fire does not protect those who've been able to put that fire out. It's putting out all the fires. And this call for addressing inequities and inequalities in terms of vaccine access is not just an important act of generosity. It is an act of reciprocity that will strengthen our bonds and ensure our survival as one humanity in one world. What we've also learned in this COVID epidemic is the importance of science communication. As scientists, we are used to doing peer-reviewed publications, and our peers read it, maybe some of our peers. But what we've learned in COVID is that public interest in science has increased. And today, wherever you are in the world, nobody is asking, what does an epidemiologist do? They know that. What we know also is that all of us have access to information at our fingertips. As scientists, we have seen how paywalls have been dropped, enabling equal access to all peer-reviewed publications. We have seen new forms of publications coming in, and while there are challenges in terms of uncurated information being shared widely and creating confusion sometimes, it's an important step forward in terms of equal access to knowledge, because knowledge belongs to everyone, not only those who generate it and not only those who can afford to access journals. What we've seen is, for example, how open access to data, like the sequence of the virus, becoming available within days, enabled a diagnostic test to be developed. A very important tool to be able to differentiate who is infected with the virus and not. An important tool in terms of identifying contacts of those infected and helping with containment and further transmission of the virus. But even as we've seen those advances, what we've seen is low middle income countries in particular have had unequal access. We have seen how access, for example, to PPE was restricted. We've seen shortages in reagents, we've seen shortages in diagnostic kits, and we've seen shortages now in terms of access to therapeutics and also vaccines. So we cannot have a world that's having access to knowledge being generated based on market forces, but one that appreciates our oneness and our togetherness. But in terms of science communication, we have seen how important that is. And how do we utilize this opportunity we have to strengthen confidence in the public in science? How do we demystify the scientific method? How do we demystify the fundamental uncertainties that go with science and knowledge generation in a way that enables the public to trust us as sources of reliable information? Because while we've had the virus spreading rampantly across the globe and tirelessly and relentlessly, we've had a parallel pandemic of what's also called misinformation and disinformation. And this feeds into the new forms of communication we have and opportunities. And they're both positives in terms of the social media platforms and how it's been enabled us to connect with each other, to stay connected, to share what we have. but it's also been used for promoting misinformation and disinformation. And those are challenges that we need to take on and tackle. But if we are to get ahead of this virus, science has been more important in society than ever before. But it's how we apply that scientific knowledge that we are reminded of. We have to build back stronger to cope with this virus, and building back stronger means that we need to be very strategic in the collaborations and partnerships we establish. The type of collaborations and partnerships where we are doing trials, where we are collecting specimens and yet not benefiting from it, is not, in my opinion, a true collaboration or partnership. We have to work together with unity in purpose. We have, as countries across the globe, need to invest more in science and technology. We will not solve our challenges in COVID-19 overnight, but we have to start those investments now in ensuring we have the capacity and capabilities at a national and regional level for self-sufficiency, whether it is for diagnostics, whether it's for therapeutics, whether it's for vaccines, whether it's for food security and other essential things we need for normal living and enabling everyone to benefit from that, because anything less is going to take us backwards. We have and can now work with new and high bars and standards that have been set for knowledge generation, for access to information, for enabling us to do better. But that is only going to be possible if we are working together, whether we are working together nationally, locally, or globally. There is one important lesson that we've learned in AIDS that I want to remind ourselves. So all this talk about inequalities, inequities, working together comes from my prior experience, work, and my continued experience, I should say, that in dealing with SARS-CoV-2, we cannot forget, in Africa particularly, that we have multiple pandemics. And as we face new threats and new disasters and new epidemics and pandemics, we cannot shift our gaze from what we're currently working with to new. We have to, in fact, deal with the multiple challenges that are facing us, and we cannot regress and lose all the gains we've made in, for example, HIV, TB, Ebola, malaria. In fact, we have to strengthen our responses. In SARS, we've seen the unmasking of non-communicable diseases. And even as we roll out the vaccination programs, we have to look at what opportunities do these provide. And going back to my final point, which is, what is that lesson we learned from HIV? Until about the mid-2000s, AIDS was an inevitable fatal condition. Inevitably fatal. That changed for industrialized countries in the mid-90s when ARV treatment became available. And those who could afford ARV treatment were able to change their lives from inevitable death to one and a condition that is chronic and manageable. It took the 13th International AIDS Conference, being hosted for the first time in a low middle income country, namely South Africa, to remind the world that 70% of all HIV infections taking place globally is in sub-Saharan Africa, that is home to less than 10% of the population, global population. But it was combined and collective efforts, such as the establishment of the Global Fund for AIDS, TB, and Malaria, the US Presidential Emergency Program for AIDS Relief, local governments and national governments and donor agencies coming together, and also industry bringing prices down, that enabled us as a global community to ensure that regardless of where you are in the world, everyone had access to this triple combination of antiretroviral drugs. And those drugs now have ensured survival of millions of people. In fact, today we have about 32 million people across the globe who have access to these life-saving medication. The AIDS pandemic is far from over, but we've done it as a global community for HIV and have succeeded. We have to bring that lesson again, at least in terms of therapeutics and vaccines for SARS-CoV-2, and lay the foundations for global return to normality and global collective working together to ensure that we build back stronger and better so that all of us benefit and are able to realize our full potential. There's never been a better time to be a scientist in the world. And to all of you being recognized together and those witnessing it, I hope it has inspired you to pursue and make your careers in science stronger, because society needs science and we need to continue to grow the value, the meaning, and the importance of science in society so that we can all realize our full potential as human beings and leave the world a better place. I thank you for your attention.
It's a massive thank you to Prof. Karim for an inspiring and encouraging message indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, the University of Pretoria Camerata, which celebrated its 53rd anniversary in 2021, has received many national and international accolades through the years. Now, the choir's mission is to contribute towards the cultural development of the student body, to enrich the lives of the students and the broader community through choral singing, and to act as cultural ambassadors of the University of Pretoria. Now, the Camerata falls under the auspices of the School of the Arts in the Faculty of Humanities and consists of 85 full-time students from a variety of study fields, including medicine, engineering, theology, law, education, economics, accounting, plant sciences, and music. Stars, composed by Latvian composer Erik Essenfeld, is based on Sarah Teasdale's poem, which discusses the relentless beauty of the night sky. It is accompanied by 45 crystal wine glasses, creating a magical and starry sound. Stars is the opening track to the Tux Camerata's latest album, Written in the Stars. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Chancellor's Award is made in recognition of exceptional achievement in the field of research aimed at the advancement of science and the associated promotion of the interests of the university. So please help me welcome Professor Nkutlu, who will announce the 2021 Chancellor's Award. Now, Professor Wiseman Nkutlu is Chancellor of the University of Pretoria and has served as UP's Chancellor since 2006. He has over 30 years' experience in executive leadership of major organizations. He was the first chairman of the Council for Higher Education and is currently a trustee of the International Financial Standards Reporting Foundation. And in 2020, he was included in a list of the 100 most reputable Africans that was recently released by Reputation Poll International, a global public relations consultancy firm. A warm welcome to you, Prof. Nkutlu.
As Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, it gives me great pleasure to announce that Professor Brenda Wingfield is a recipient of the prestigious Chancellor's Medal. Professor Wingfield is a professor in the Department of Biochemistry, Genetics, and Microbiology in the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. and heads a Department of Science and Innovation, National Research Foundation South African Research Chair Initiative in Fungal Genomics. She is internationally recognized as a leader in fungal genetics. Professor Wingfield's research focuses on fungal pathogens of plantation-grown trees. This has supported the South African forestry industry to manage and protect their biological assets from fungal disease. Her research using phylogenetics has enabled her and her collaborators to develop important DNA diagnostics for these pathogens. She developed a strong population genetics platform to study pathogen populations, first using random amplified polymorphic DNA and amplified fragment length polymorphisms, but later developed microsatellite makers. She collaborates with researchers from different parts of the world, as is evident from the many co-authors on her publications. She was Vice President of the respected Academy of Science of South Africa until 2020, and is the Secretary General of the International Society of Plant Pathology. Professor Wingfield has exemplified research excellence during her 3 decades as a research scientist. She has supervised more than 100 master's and PhD students, many of whom are now internationally recognized in their own right. While the majority of them are South Africans, others come from South America, Asia, and Africa. She has published more than 400 articles in peer-reviewed journals and has mentored many young academics and is a powerful advocate for gender equality. Congratulations on your achievement, Professor Wingfield.
Thank you so much, Professor Nkuhlu. Ladies and gentlemen, I now welcome Prof. Brenda Wingfield to say a few words.
Professor Wiseman Nkuhlu, Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, Chairman of Council, Ms. Futhi Matoba, Members of Council, Professor Tawana Kupi, Members of the University of Pretoria Executive, colleagues and friends, my apologies that I cannot be with you to receive this award in person. This is due to my having accepted to attend a high-profile event in Europe at this time, but I will be online for the event, just on the other side of the equator. It is with humility and pride that I receive this Chancellor's Award. Allow me to misquote from John Donne as follows: "No woman is an island entire of herself. Every woman and man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." This award thus recognizes just more than one person, but also my collaborators, colleagues, and students. They have contributed hugely to the research and outputs that I have achieved over a lifetime. This award also recognizes excellence. Excellence is not achieved easily nor rapidly. In contrast, excellence requires a lifetime of investment and a focus on doing the very best that one can do. The greatest threat to excellence is mediocrity. I hope I can inspire those who follow me to shy away from just enough, rather to take the higher road, the longer road, the road to the stars. For the young women researchers who might be listening tonight, know that anything is possible. Believe in yourself. Also surround yourself with colleagues, friends, and family who believe in you. Reach for the stars. I thank the University of Pretoria for giving me the many opportunities that I've had to pursue my passion for research, this for more than 2 decades. I consider myself hugely privileged. I also thank my family for their support, particularly my partner in many scientific exploits, Mike Wingfield, who has been an integral part of my research career. And I thank you all for joining the celebration of excellence with me.
A massive congratulations to Professor Wingfield. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we turn to the Vice Chancellor's Book Awards. Now, the University of Pretoria introduced the Vice Chancellor's Book Award to recognize and reward authors of scholarly books, monographs, and collections. Now, the prizes are awarded once a year in 2 categories, namely humanities and social sciences, broadly defined, or natural and applied sciences. Now, a book is considered to be scholarly if it presents the findings of an original, systematic investigation undertaken to gain new knowledge and insight, advances knowledge in a particular discipline, and brings credit to the university. Scholarly books may be written in any of South Africa's official languages, and translations of major works originally published in other languages are also considered. In order to qualify for nominations, books should bring credit to the university on account of their contribution to the advancement of the humanities, the social sciences, or the natural and applied sciences. Please help me welcome once again Professor Coupe to announce this year's winners.
Congratulations, Mr. Johann Jacobus Swart, who's the author, you as the author of the book, together with the photographer, Alain Prost, on the publication Hidden Pretoria. It can be measured within the disciplines of architectural history, heritage studies, and photographic documentation. The project is a systematic documentation, analysis, and interpretation of architectural heritage sites within the city of Tshwane, based on extensive fieldwork and primary research. Furthermore, the publication is a highly curated visual product, which is intended as a detailed photographic record for posterity and a reflection of architectural spaces. Congratulations, Professor Van Onselen, on this great achievement. Your book on the night trains moving Mozambican miners to and from South Africa from 1902. Night trains has been described as a tour de force that deals with a very important aspect of Southern African political, economic, and social history. It focuses on a train journey from Mozambique to South Africa to demonstrate how local and international mining interests horribly exploited workers from sold to serve and trampled on their dignity and human rights. As the back cover indicates, the story of the night trains echoes today through songs such as Stimela and Shosholoza. But the experience of the poverty-stricken Mozambicans who traveled on the trains has never been told. Night train lays bare the hellish world.
Congratulations to our recipients of the Vice Chancellor's Book Awards. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the Vice Chancellor's Award for Excellent Supervision, for which there's one recipient. Now, this award recognizes the contribution of members of our academic staff who excel as supervisors of postgraduate research students. Now, the award is made on the grounds of exceptional performance measured in terms of the student's academic achievement. Evidence of excellent mentorship and guidance provided to young researchers and academic scholars is also taken into consideration. Supervision. And this award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Professor Namrita Lal.
Professor Coupe, colleagues, friends, and students, good evening. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude to have been selected to receive Vice Chancellor's Exceptional Supervisors Award. So honored to have my work recognized in this way by the University of Pretoria. Many hours went into student supervision, and it means so much to me that the work that I am so passionate about also resonates with others. This accomplishment is not something that I did alone, and there are many others who deserve to share this award. This award is a result of the collective efforts of many of my collaborators, friends, students, and funders. I therefore want to share this recognition with you and thank you all for all the support you have given me. I believe some of the qualities which brought me here tonight were gained in the days of my youth. These qualities include professionalism, the demonstration to grow under corresponding circumstances. I also try to create the climate in which students are motivated to excel so that they are engaged into work and contribute their best. Thus, I focus on the teamwork. I teach others to be selfless in achieving goals that will benefit the whole organization without waiting for reward. But first, I demonstrated this on my personal example. I was an intentional learner who concentrated on self-improvement and encouraged it in others. I always take the best qualities of my employees, friends, and family, apply them to my professional life, and so you can see me here. Of course, it's a joke, but I do learn from my environment. People around are far cleverer than some might think. You only have to listen and watch attentively. I will continue my efforts to mentor young graduates to the best of my ability and look forward to bring positive changes in young individuals. I'm humbled and appreciative for this recognition. Thank you.
Now, the Exceptional Academic Achievers Awards made annually to senior academics who have already achieved the status of professor are regarded highly by their peers and have consistently excelled in the areas of under- and postgraduate teaching and learning, research, community service, and administration over a period of time. Now, any academic who has been awarded an A rating by the NRF in the year under consideration automatically qualifies as an exceptional achiever for as long as he or she remains an A-rated researcher. And this award goes to Professor Hein Venter, Professor Ncholu Manyala, Professor Yaku Greef, and Professor Mike Sateche. Congratulations to all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the laureates are awarded to nominated projects that display teaching practices with clear purpose and intent, and which have a strong alignment between the different elements in the broader context to address identified needs or gaps with the aim of innovating to optimize teaching and learning. Now, these nominations show significant evidence of impact on student learning. They are sustainable, can be replicated in other contexts too. These projects contribute to best practice in teaching and display significant evidence of innovation that addresses the identified challenges. This award goes to Dr. Christine Mundi and Dr. Marie Hatting. continue the celebrations with more congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, we're turning our focus now to the Community Engagement Award, which is awarded annually to one individual to recognize community engagement as a long-standing and valued tradition in higher education and an extensive high-impact practice in teaching at the University of Pretoria. Now, the criteria for the award are aligned to those for the McJanet Award, which is an internationally administered by the Toulouse Network. And this award goes to Professor Yanni Hugo and Dr. Amanda Talma. Ladies and gentlemen, this award is given to exceptional young achievers in the field of research as seen against the university's strategic goals of achieving academic excellence, international competitiveness, and local relevance. Now, any person who has been evaluated by the NRF as a peer-rated researcher automatically enjoys exceptional young researcher status. Dr. Mehdi Mirabi, Dr. Shepherd Tichapondwa, Dr. Tuan Diong, Dr. Jonathan Okeke, Dr. Fahima Mohammed Asmal, and Dr. Michael Barrett Berg. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, last year the University of Pretoria introduced awards under the Conversation Africa Science Communication Awards category. Now, the Conversation Africa gives all higher education institutions an opportunity to share their research outputs with fellow academics across the globe, as well as with civil society. The platform, therefore, places academics in a better position to identify opportunities to collaborate and to conduct research with their peers across disciplines. Our partnership with The Conversation has increased the visibility of the work of UP researchers and academics, helping them to reach wider audiences beyond academic research communities. So please help me welcome Jabulani Kakane, the editor, Caroline Southey, the founding editor, Fungwa Nyamakukachi, who looks after university partnerships and stakeholder relations from The Conversation, for the presentation of these new awards.
Hi, I'm Jabulani Kakane, the editor of The Conversation Africa.
Hi, I'm Caroline Southey, the founding editor of The Conversation Africa.
And I'm Fungwa Nyamukachi. I manage university partnerships for The Conversation Africa. And we're here today to present the Conversation Africa Science Communication Awards for this year. For the past 3 years, we've been acknowledging academics at different universities that have made the most significant contribution to the conversation by either publishing the most articles or garnering the most reads.
And the award for the highest number of articles published in The Conversation Africa in 2020 goes to two authors. Both published 6 articles with us in 2020. In no particular order, the first awardee is Henning Melba, and the second is Danny Bradlow.
And the award for the article that attracted the most reads that was published on The Conversation Africa goes to Wanda Markota. Her article was entitled, "Scientists Are Still Searching for the Source of COVID-19, Why It Matters." This article attracted over 300,000 reads in English and then attracted another 350,000 reads when it was translated into Spanish. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all the 3 winners. We would like to thank you so much for sharing your insights and the research with the broader public. Keep writing.
Keep writing is the message. It's a massive congratulations to Professor Wanda Makota, Professor Henning Malba, and Professor Daniel Bradlew. Now, if you're at home, don't get left behind in our celebration of academic achievements. Remember the hashtags that we're using tonight is hashtag UP Celebrating Excellence and hashtag UP Academic Achievers.
We all see the same world, but research creates a new vision of what is and what is possible. Research is central to the University of Pretoria's vision. We strive to expand the boundaries of knowledge, to develop thought leaders, to answer global questions, and to create an impact that can change lives. A combination of high productivity and excellence has earned UP an international reputation for research that is a game changer for Africa and the entire 21st century world. What we do will shape the future. The University of Pretoria's diverse research platforms offer a launchpad for today's generation of knowledge seekers. Unlocking tomorrow's potential in the unknowns of today. Our research themes and priorities pave the way to a more sustainable and equitable future for Africa and the world. Covering topics from food security to astrophysics, health and well-being to new business, and from biodiversity to education in the digital era. Engineering 4.0 is a platform of synergy for the development of smart transportation networks where digital technologies and augmented intelligence will enable new communication networks and urban development. The ever-evolving art of Africa has found a new home at the Javet UP Arts Center, where the deep histories and cultures of African people combine with technology to inspire new creativity. Recognizing that knowledge cannot be compartmentalized, UP champions a transdisciplinary approach. Creating Future Africa, a hub, a community, a home for African scholars, and a meeting place. A place where digital connectivity enables minds to meet without boundaries, and shared knowledge enables new solutions to African challenges. Welcome to the University of Pretoria, where we do research that matters.
Ladies and gentlemen, the University of Pretoria has enjoyed a long-standing and collaborative relationship with the NRF over the years, particularly through funding initiatives or our research and experts. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Fulufelo Nelamonde, the Chief Executive Officer of the NRF, to share his message and congratulate the NRF recipients tonight. Now, Prof. Fulufelo Nelamonde is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Research Foundation South Africa. He holds a PhD in electrical engineering with specialization in computational intelligence from the University of the Witwatersrand. He was a postdoctoral fellow at the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences at Harvard University and was one of the youngest South Africans to receive the prestigious Harvard South Africa Fellowship. Fulufelo is a registered professional engineer, a senior member of the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers, a senior member of the Association of Computing Machinery, amongst many others. Now, prior to his current role, he held executive positions at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research and has served in several boards, councils, ministerial task teams, and advisory committees. Fulufelo is passionate about the fourth industrial revolution, particularly in the potential impact its research and technologies can bring in the advancement of humankind, thereby addressing the social ills of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. He has been a recipient of many awards for his contributions to science, engineering, and technology. In 2017, he was awarded the Order of Mapungubwe in silver, the highest civilian honor bestowed by the President of the Republic of South Africa. Fulu Fellow has worked in areas of advanced modeling, information security, data science, and artificial intelligence, and is a visiting professor at the University of Johannesburg's Institute of Intelligent Systems.
Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, award recipients, and safe to say all protocols observed, good evening. It is no understatement that the last 20 months or so have been particularly challenging for South Africa and the rest of the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has had devastating effects on societies and economies around the world, as Prof. Abdul Karim covered in a keynote address earlier. At the beginning of the pandemic, the forecasts were particularly worrying for South Africa, given the pre-existence of the factors such as HIV, TB, and high levels of poverty, among others, that could aggravate the impact of the pandemic. During the very same time, we have seen sterling work in a broad spectrum of areas, including vaccine research, the development of diagnostics, monitoring and modeling of the spread of the pandemic, health policy research, science advocacy, as well as improved opportunities for public engagement with science, including the challenges of decoding misinformation and disinformation. While the science that relates to the pandemic has received highly visible coverage during this period, South Africa and the South African researchers at large have continued to expand the global frontiers of knowledge in many other scientific fields as well. One may argue that the role of science has never been more critical than it has been over the last 18 months. And more importantly, so has the role of researchers, who played a significant role under conditions that are generally not conducive to traditional scientific research. However, overcoming challenges is what our researchers do best, and they have adapted well to what many have termed the new normal. It was during this new normal that Chancellor and Vice Chancellor, our partnership between the NRF and the UP continued to grow. In 2020, the NRF supported 270 UP researchers and postdoctoral fellows through various research funding opportunities. During the very same time in 2020, we supported 655 UP students, comprising of 183 honors students and 271 at master's level and 201 doctoral students. The proportion of South African women students increased from what was 55% in 2016 to 61% in 2020. If you sort of continue in the very same analysis of the trends, you can actually see the trends growing significantly over the last few years. The proportion of South African Black students that we funded at UP increased significantly from 43% in 2016 to 62% in 2020, while the total proportion of South African students supported increased from 86% in 2016 to 91% in 2020. The number of active research chairs at UP increased from 15 in 2016 to 19 in 2020. There were also significant increases in the proportion of South African women chairholders, which were sitting at 33% in the year 2016 to 58% in year 2020, as well as an increase in the proportion of South African Black shareholders, which was very low in 2016, sitting at 13%, and managed to increase to 37% in 2020. The cohort of UP-rated researchers has increased from 468 in 2016 to 600 in the year 2020, of which a number, if you sort of split it into the various categories, the number of people who are A-rated increased from 15 to 17 during the same period. B-rated increased from 95 to 111, and C-rated increased from 274 to 375, while the P-rated increased from 0 to 4, and the Y-rated from 84 to 93. The proportion of South African rated researchers increased from 84% in 2016 to 87% in 2020. And I think this is one demographic that's very important for us to measure in terms of how are South Africans doing in these ratings. While if you look at the proportion of South African women researchers who were rated, it increased from 32% in 2016 to 38% in 2020. And the South African Black researchers increased from 10% in 2016 to 17% in 2020. Vice Chancellor, I think this is the part where we still have a lot of work to do. But I would like to commend the university on an amazing transformation trajectory, which aligns very well with the NRF Vision 2030. Today is a very special day. As we pause to celebrate the work that these researchers at UP have done, we should not stay for too long in the celebration. To the recipients, I want to say your work remains essential despite the various challenges that we face. These are the challenges that talk to the constrained fiscals, the slow economic growth, the decline in research funding, and all other issues that government is trying to juggle to ensure that some people receive a livelihood. As scientists and as academics, you cannot be ignorant of these challenges. More today than ever before, we need to find our relevance in that context of these challenges. We need to use our science, including the social sciences and humanities, to help improve the quality of life. This surely means more work lies ahead of us. I would like to congratulate all the recipients of the awards. In his opening remarks, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Kupe, said that, "Thank you," and I'm quoting him, "for all that you do for the university and for producing research that matters." I would like to re-echo the very same words and add my sincere appreciation, not only for the work that you do for the university, but for the work that you do for South Africa. I know for a fact that a number of you have carried South African flag high, and we are really proud of your achievement. We honor your ongoing commitment to the goals of expanding the global frontiers of knowledge, while at the same time enabling efforts in advancing knowledge, transforming lives, and inspiring South Africa and the world. I thank you.
It's a big thank you to Professor Nelwa Monde. Ladies and gentlemen, and now for the NRF Awards. And we start off with the A-rated researchers. These researchers are unequivocally recognized by their peers as leading international scholars in their field for the high quality and impact of their recent research outputs. And the recipients are Professor Michael Bruford, Professor Charles van Onselen, and Professor Johannes van Oort. Congratulations to all. We turn now to the B-rated researchers. These are researchers who enjoy considerable international recognition by their peers for the high quality and impact of their recent research outputs. And the recipients are Professor Martin Bester, Professor Lynn-Marie Burkholz, Professor Willem de Beer, Professor Marcel Dejoie, Professor Charles de Villiers, Professor Ina Fourie, Professor Kobus Kok, Professor Peter Leroux, Professor Johan Malherbe, Professor Willie Nicol, Professor Sue Nicholson, Professor Llewellyn Padiachi, Professor Nalicia Pillay, Professor Tahir Pillay, Professor Christian Perk, Professor Emil Rodener, Professor Egmont Roa, Professor Pavel Selyashev, Professor Anne Skelton, Professor Bernard Slippers, Professor Emma Steenkamp, Professor Alta van der Merwe, Professor Ernest van Eck, Professor Bram van Beek, and Professor Ventaka Yadivali. A massive congratulations to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now turning our focus to established researchers with a sustained recent record of productivity in the field who are recognized by their peers as having produced a body of quality work, the core of which has coherence and attests to ongoing engagement with the field, has demonstrated the ability to conceptualize problems and to apply research methods to investigating them. And the recipients are Professor Mujahid Abbas, Dr. Alexander Antonitis, Professor Corin Barak, Professor Nigel Barker, Professor Irene Barnes, Professor Conrad Bayers, Professor Billy Boshoff, Professor Norman Casey, Professor Theo Bothma, and Professor Norman Casey, Professor Alice Chan, Professor Christian Chimimba, Dr. Kerry Chip, Dr. Nicoline Kutsia, Professor Stefan de Beer, Professor Nico de Bruin, Professor Henrietta de Kok, Professor Peter de Villiers, Dr. Alta de Waal, Professor Mansai Moche Diale, Professor Alette Erasmus, Professor Eric Etta, Dr. Sunette Abers, Professor Ute Furcht, Dr. Salome Gersema, Professor Orona Gerba, Professor Stefan Geyer, Professor Abubakar Hassan, Dr. Natalie Horstman, Professor Marlene Holmner, Professor Brett Hurley, Dr. Ensa Johnson, Dr. Rodwell Kufakunesu, Professor Marilee Landman, Professor Henrietta Langmi, Dr. Mia Leroux, Dr. Patricia Lutu, Professor Vinesh Maharaj, Professor Janet Mans, Professor Tanya Marie, Professor Gustav Muller, Professor Herman Mayberg, Professor Mageshan Naidu, Professor Sanushka Naidu, Professor Alavain Nell, Dr. Maitumeleng Ntonto, Professor Siona O'Connell, Dr. Jonathan Okeke, Professor Daniel Petzer, Professor Mariki Potchiter, Professor Anastasio Spori, Professor Raineth Prinsloo, Professor Gert Prinsloo, Professor Abel Ramuello, Dr. Jean-Baptiste Ramon, Professor Oleg Reva, Professor Darren Riley, Professor Mark Robertson, Professor Bernardo Rodriguez, Dr. Edward Snelling, Professor Catherine Soule, Dr. Hanley Starpiller, Professor Vanessa Steenkamp, Professor Martin Stein, Professor Mauniraj Sukdavan, Dr. Nicolette Taylor, Professor Peter Thompson, Dr. Nils Tim, Dr. Emmanuel Chikalange, Dr. Clinton van der Merwe, Professor Stefan van Eck, Professor Jan van Heerden, Professor David Valwijn, Professor Janine Wichman, and Dr. Martin Wortel. A massive congratulations, and I hope the celebrations are alive at home. Ladies and gentlemen, we're turning now to our young researchers. We're talking about researchers that are 40 years or younger who have held the doctorate or equivalent qualification for less than 5 years at the time of application, and who are recognized as having the potential to establish themselves as researchers within a 5-year period after evaluation. This based on their performance and productivity as researchers during their doctoral studies and or early postdoctoral careers. And the recipients are Dr. Janneke Alweit, Dr. Divan Berger, Dr. Talita Collitz, Dr. Celeste Combrink, Professor Herbert Kanengoni, Dr. Joanne Causes, Dr. Derek Leroux, Dr. Eugene Mahope, awarded posthumously, Dr. Khadi Matabayate, Dr. Mbuso Mlambo, Dr. Nadine Munsami, Dr. Suzanne Smith, Dr. Tapsile Tabete, Dr. Philemon Tsele, Dr. Liesel Marie van der Westhuizen, Dr. Jacomien van Nierkerk, and Dr. Neriman Yilmaz. Ladies and gentlemen, what an exceptional evening. I hope you're all feeling inspired and excited about the year ahead after hearing some of the experts and researchers about their work and as we celebrate them. Now, while 2021 has been an unusual year with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, I think we can all agree that after an evening like this, that we are all inspired to do more in our day-to-day lives and to celebrate achievements such as these. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you all this evening. I now call on Professor Kupe to share his final remarks.
Excellence is a continuum at UP, and the achievers we are celebrating tonight are an inspiration to others. We strive to be a future-focused university, not to push our international ranking, but to help transform our country, continent, and world with high-impact research and innovations. And we can achieve this through all your research, work, and commitment. Congratulations and job well done to you all. Good night.